I'm happy to re-explain it, However, I know it's a kind of it's a strange thing. I have to kind of I have to
No,
agree to
oh, no
discuss
worries.
further.
So we have one member who got a little bit behind on her dues. Her last name is Walker. So if we could look at her, okay.
Where's that?
And if we go to her, so her original join date was like May 11th, 2016, and she's been pretty good about every year, renewing. Well, the way we have our dues set up, we have it set up to as soon as you pay your dues, your paid through date is
Gets updated,
extended out
right?
for,
Okay.
for 1 year. And I think the society is wanting to go back to, that paid through date so that we can start sending notifications out uh,
Right.
earlier than when they expire. So if I wanted to catch this
Mhm.
early, so if we went up to her, if we go up to her dues transaction history. Okay,
History.
so the invoice, so the original invoice on her might have been from last August,
Okay.
right?
So it looks like the last one she got was 9/17/2020.
Okay. And she just paid just a little bit ago. So what does that, so she paid that invoice, right?
Yeah, so she paid the 2020 pharmacist full member. Maybe I should view. Okay, so she paid the full year 1 year membership. Um, and this was on. Well, I just clicked that, but
Right. So,
so
but
this was
that,
generated on 9/17/2020. So you're wondering, like, so basically, from what I understand of your current setup is, if this is 9/7/2020, it looks like her pay through date just advanced to 1 year from when she might have paid it, I believe.
well, no, somebody went in and manually changed.
Oh, okay. Her pay through date is changed manually. Okay, so
Right.
it wasn't
So,
through the dues invoice.
right. So I
Okay.
mean, the big question is, um, if I change the settings back
Hmm.
to not, can we go back to dues types or dues management
Yeah.
and dues types? And let's go to full member, I guess. And then what is it? Details? Yeah.
Yep. Dues details.
And open up this year's. So my understanding of the way this works right now is that right now the duration, so dues duration is 1 year from the duration from date paid. So if
Yep.
even though she paid this month and her
Yep.
invoice was from last September,
Yep.
it moved her paid through date through to 1 year.
Yep.
So
And
if I were to,
yep, and it looks like it's from the date that they pay the invoice. So like if they get the invoice, let's say, today was February 16th. Let's say I got the invoice January 16th. If I paid that invoice February 16th, it would advance my membership 1 year from February 16th. And so
right,
the other option is current paid through. So this will keep their paid through. So let's say my invoice was, let's say my old paid through date was January 16th.
uh-huh.
If I paid that invoice February 16th, it would still advance it 1 year from January 16th. Does
That's
that make
what we
sense?
that's what we want to do.
Okay. Yep.
However, our concern is that if people get too far out,
Mhm.
does that mean she could potentially renew her dues um, a month before, it would be, and she'd only be paying for 1 month of membership? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you're saying like,
So let me look at it this way. So let's say your invoice is January 1st, 2021,
right.
and you don't pay it.
Hmm.
And your membership lapses. We've sent you all the stuff. And then
Yep.
come November of 2021, you decide you're going to pay your dues.
Hmm.
Does that mean then she's
Yeah.
only paying for a month?
Yep. Because yeah, so if you do current paid through, what it does is basically when she pays it, it would basically set it to the end of the year, basically, or it would basically set it whatever you say like current paid through. Yeah, basically, if their paid through under is like January, whatever, and then it'll basically advance it 1 year from their current paid through, so they would only have membership for a few months.
Okay. And
Yeah.
does that allow catch-up dues impact that at all?
So the way dues catch up works, no, dues catch up wouldn't change that. The only thing dues catch up would do is when they pay an old invoice, it would basically, like, let's say like dues catch up is exclusively where they have, like, let's say they have a 2018 invoice on their account, and then they
Uh-huh.
go through the renewal process and they pay that 2018 invoice, right? Our
Uh-huh.
system will be like, oh, this is 2018. Actually, she should be on the 2021. So then it'll give them the pricing and follow the rules of the 2021. And then from there, whatever you set in here would then start to occur. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, so do I need to make sure that, so then if I have allow catch-up dues checked, I need to make sure that everything but my current year is checked no.
Yep, exactly. So you want to make sure that, as soon as you get past like December 31st, like January 1st, you want to come back to 2020 and then uncheck those.
Okay.
And the reason why is because if you still have those checked and someone tries to pay 2020 invoice, the system is going to say, oh, 2020 is available. So it's going to make them go through the 2020 process, right? And then they're going to get a pay through date that's 2020.
Okay.
So that's why like the dues catch up exists, to account for people that might have like a 2020 invoice or 2019, to make sure they actually get the 2021 pricing and the dues details.
Devendra, do you know, for the most part, like the companies that you work with on AMO, what do most of them use? Do they use the date paid or the current paid through as their duration to
Yeah,
trigger?
yeah. I mostly see current pay through. I
Really?
actually don't. Yeah, usually I see most are like, this is your yearly membership. Like most of them, and I've seen a lot actually even do it where they actually override the dues duration and they set it so that no matter when you pay, you get a 12/31/2021, for example. So it's people who even do it worse, where they, if they paid in November, some people will only get a couple months, or even like a month of membership. So I've seen other associations do it. It's a pretty unique ways, but I've seen that a lot where they'll just be like, no matter if you paid in August, you're going to get a 12/31 no matter what. And I've seen majority associations do that. But I've actually not seen as many with date paid. I've always seen current paid through.
Okay.
Mostly. I mean, we obviously have the option to account for people that don't, but just from my experience in talking to enough people, like it is usually current paid through. But
So,
it's totally up to your bylaws.
and then the other question I have, if it's okay, I'm going to
Oh
take
no, go
the
ahead.
screen back.
Yeah.
So the other question we had was, uh, the problem is we're growing probably quicker than we really thought we would here.
Well, that's good.
Okay, so the way it was explained to me years ago was
Mhm.
everything is based off of the invoice. If the invoice doesn't exist,
Yep.
then the member can't renew their dues.
Yep.
Okay? And so it all comes down to the generation of the invoice.
Yep.
And the invoice is generated off of these dues notifications.
Yep.
So, one thing that we were having problems with is, if your current paid through date is something,
Mhm.
and like, okay, let me back.
One day, yeah, one day seems. I'm guessing that they get the reminder, but then when they log in, they're already expired, maybe.
Well, we have a grace period.
Oh, you do have a grace period. Okay,
And
cool.
and the reason we did that is because as date paid, if I
Mhm.
go in and I'm actually a good member and I get a notice a month or two in advance that my dues are going to expire,
Right.
then what winds up happening is, my understanding is that then I lose a couple months because it's going to reset my date paid through
Yep.
as when I paid, not based off of that trigger field. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
So you're saying they're like missing the trigger?
What? No. if
Okay.
the way we have it set now, it's 1 year from date paid. So
Okay.
if I renew earlier than my actual
Yep.
individual paid
Oh,
through,
I see. You're saying they're losing, yeah, because it would move it, yeah, from when they pay.
so
Right.
I guess my question would be is then if we, so let's say we change it back over to current paid through, which is what everybody does. I mean, the reason we changed it in the beginning was too many people were barking about, hey, I didn't pay my dues and now I only get 6 months, and we were like, we're not
Right.
going to deal with that. But now that we want to move back to like the common way of doing it,
Yep.
um, so a lot of our members are saying, hey, I didn't get this notice until like the day of or the day before I was going to expire. So some people were wanting to, um, some
Like
people,
get the notification sooner.
right. So maybe the initial dues reminder could maybe go out like a couple months in advance, but not
Yeah.
generate an invoice.
Yeah, you could do that. So so you could do like, you generally I see people do ones where they do like 30 days out, then they do one like 15 days, or they do like the initial invoice one.
Oh,
Um and then then the subsequent ones will just be like email notifications.
okay.
Because you can create the invoice on the initial one, and then subsequent ones you can have it just do the email and not invoices.
Okay.
Usually what we recommend is to send out the invoices on the first one,
Okay.
and then subsequent ones are email notifications. But you could do the reverse. There's no like restriction on that, but it tends to keep things a little, neater or understandable.
Okay.
Um, but
Now,
that way their first reminder, they'll be able to go in right away and pay. If you don't generate an invoice and they have a reminder to pay, they actually can't pay anyway.
but
So
but if we changed, so if I went in and I changed I'm sharing my screen, right?
yeah.
So if I go in and I change this today to pharmacist full member dues details,
Mhm.
and I go in and I say I'm going to change this to
Date like current paid through.
this,
Yep.
then then that means they will not get, if they pay their dues early, they're not going to get penalized, right?
No, no, because current pay through will basically be like we said, like, the only way I guess you really get penalized is if you pay later, I guess. Then you would lose a few months. It's kind of like the other side of the coin where it's like if you pay late, you lose a few months. If you pay early, I guess.
Oh,
But so I'm trying to think like so basically if you have like February 1st, right? And they that's their pay through date and they pay it, let's say January, it
okay.
would just advance it 1 year from the February date. And
That's what,
typically,
and
yeah,
that's what
that's
we want.
typically what people do in AMO. But they paid some people use, but current pay through seems to generally be the way it tends to be.
Okay.
It
Okay.
seems to be less confusing for members from what I've noticed, but
Okay.
obviously it's totally up to you guys, but it's good to know the impacts, when you change something like this.
I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything else.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, so I kind of figured a Zoom meeting for this would be the best to explain,
I
because
appreciate it. And so
yeah, no
you
problem.
recommend all of these being shut down, right?
Yeah, because that's like kind of like if you think about it, like if when you uncheck those, it's like irrelevant pricing almost, like the system will know to basically look at the 2020 or look at whichever ones have their renewals and the applications turned on. The times I've seen people have issues with dues or people getting 2020, especially during December and January when
Uh-huh.
there's like a transition, is it always tends to be people not unchecking those boxes because then people will get like an old invoice and they'll pay it and then it won't update to the right paid through things like that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, there's a lot of site controls here. I don't know if you've taken a look at here, but we this is where we kind of tuck away a lot of additional options and features that people ask.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty comfortable with all of this.
Cool.
The I just wasn't sure what the catch up do. All that catch up dues thing says is it goes and looks for whatever the last invoice was, and if it's old, then it moves them up to the current.
Exactly. It just matches up to the current one as long as those boxes are, but it's just based on those boxes being checked.
I
But yeah,
love.
so yeah, the dues catch up is like, it's helped out a lot of associations that had that kind of problem where people would, go away for a few years, come back and be like, hey, I want to sign up
Yep.
and, try to make that process a little easier.
But the only other question I've had come up from members is when you go to these forms, and we have form submission notification, is there a
Mhm.
way to put in more than one email address in there?
I've never. Let me look.
Because when I put, like, if I try to put in more than one,
So you
it,
do like did you do a comma separated?
yeah, and then
Okay.
it turns red.
Okay. Yeah. Let me. That's honestly something we could probably add pretty easily.
Okay,
I'm gonna add that to my development board.
okay.
Yeah. If you weren't aware, I kind of took on the role of being product manager, so I'm
Oh, I
kind of
didn't realize
working
that.
on. Yeah. So I'm working on trying to gather feedback and updates from people.
Okay,
Um,
I appreciate
and
it.
I have your other one on there too, the AMO ID to the member profile. I
Yeah,
haven't gotten a chance to discuss it with him in depth yet, but it is on our list.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Last question. I don't know if you're able to do this or not, like non-AMO. I don't know if you do like side consulting or anything like that. We recently moved our email over to Microsoft Office
Oh,
365.
yep. Mhm.
And what it has done is it shifted. So within my GoDaddy, I created like a new thing for our listserv. And I put in the MX information that was explained in our listserv provider. And what basically is happening is that the listserv is working
Okay.
other than the emails that are being sent to the list from those Office 365 email addresses, which is really weird. So I don't know uh, how verbal you are and all that stuff, but if
Yeah.
you have any interest
So
in consulting with us, kind of off site or whatever you call it.
yeah. So we have the Archstone side of things where we kind of do more of that kind of work.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I obviously work for Archstone too. I'm just trying to think really quick what a good answer might be. So the listserv is something that they sign up to like submit their email address to. And so you're saying people with Office 365 emails aren't getting the emails from the listserv?
No, so what happened was is we were going through a company called Mail List. You guys
Hmm.
don't have listserv stuff or functionality in your website.
No.
Okay. That would
Well,
be humongous if you guys
okay.
could pull that off. Just saying.
Okay.
Um,
I
but
can do
anyway, uh, so the way that that works is that we submit the email addresses as people join the society to our list server. And then if somebody sends the email to, you
that.
know,
Hmm.
lists at whatever, then it goes to everybody signed up.
Oh, I
Well,
see.
about a month ago, we changed it to reflect our domain name. So it looks a
Right.
little more professional. So now it's
Mhm.
like sppcp at list.palliativepharmacist.org.
Okay.
And, and so now those list emails are being navigated through, I guess, our DNS. I don't know if I'm using the
Mhm.
terms correctly, but it's going into our DNS and looking to be told where to go. And
Right.
and so so those emails come in, and it basically, the way ours is set up, I think the MX language, if I'm using that correct, is sending everything to the listserv,
Yeah.
uh, which it should be, other than the emails that are coming directly from uh, Office, whatever that's called.
Hmm.
You,
So the one thing I can think of, and I don't know if you looked into this yet, but basically you might want to look at SPF records. So basically what that is basically when you have like for example, for AMO, if you're sending an email through AMO, you
uh-huh.
actually need to add, well, to make it better, it does technically work, but it sometimes hits firewalls and spam filters. Where basically if you need to basically authenticate with whatever email system it's being sent from.
Right.
So you have to add a record on your DNS that says, yeah, I'm allowing emails to come through from palliativepharmacist.com through AMO, just as an example.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense? Like, I'm not we're not really an Office 365 shop.
Uh-huh.
But I think what you need to do is basically say that your domain is allowed to send emails through listserv is basically what's going on, because there's a lot of spam filters and checks where it says like, if it doesn't basically have like a record authenticating saying, yeah, this site is allowed to send out emails through this system, is what SPF record does. It says like even you go through MailChimp or like a number of other like email providers like that you can send emails through, your domain basically just needs to be verified that it's allowed to send through that email system. And you don't have to do it, which is why people miss it. But a lot of more modern, as like, people are fighting back against spam and things like that.
Right.
It's like a thing that a lot of email systems will just like disregard if it doesn't have one in place.
Well, I guess, okay, so I should probably reach out. I bet you think GoDaddy would be able to help with that?
Yeah, I think the GoDaddy should be able to help. They would probably know the best how to connect your domain to Office 365 properly, because you might need more than just MX records. And then I was gonna chat this link real quick. But yeah, in this article, it actually says to reach out to your hosting provider.
Okay.
And then just like talk to them real quick. They should be able to help you. I would be surprised if they couldn't.
Okay. All right. I'll reach out to them.
Yeah,
And
and if you look at that link I just sent you, it has a few more details on what exactly SPF is, and it'll help email delivery quite a bit.
thank you.
Yeah, that's my first guess. Whenever I hear something similar like that, it tends to just be something pretty simple like that, but it's easily missed. So,
Okay.
but yeah, let me know if that doesn't work, or if GoDaddy's not able to help. I can definitely do a little research on my end, and we can see what we can do on our side to help out.
Well, thank you. And please make sure to invoice us for your time this morning.
Yeah, no problem.
And let's see.
I appreciate it.
So now we need to go to Defender. All right. I'll have to reach out and check in with them. But thank you so much. I think you guys are doing a great job with your service.
Awesome. We appreciate it. We're definitely trying to, work on AMO and figure out a good direction for us, because we're trying to grow quickly as well, and we're at about 200 associations. So
Really?
yeah, we're trying to get up to like, if we could get to actually like double that, we would be in a much better place of like being able to really roll out a lot of cool stuff, have enough incoming. But me and David are working pretty closely on figuring out a good direction. It's a monumental task, because no one's really taken on AMO fully except for David, So it's like the first time we're gonna have like someone dedicated to try and move it along and communicate too. I think that's been one of our things. We've been like constantly moving and doing stuff for people, but we haven't been able to like communicate it in time and things like that.
Did you guys ever really roll out your mobile?
Yeah, we do have the mobile PWA, and that is available. But we're figuring out our pricing.
Your what?
We're figuring out our pricing for PWA. So I don't know. We're thinking about changing AMO pricing a little bit to include the PWA. It's just not as widely used as we'd like. So we're just trying to figure it out. But it is rolled out. It's just an additional cost.
Okay.
To add, but
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much. And if there's ever anything, I wonder where we're at in the 200 association. Like, are we number 100 or number 20? I'm just curious.
I think the IDs aren't exactly assigned, because demos and the numbers. I know your ID has a little bit of a sign of where you guys are. I think you're at 677, which is one of the lower numbers for sure. Because most people are like in the thousands for their association ID. Some of the earlier people are definitely below the 1,000 IDs. But they're not like, the IDs aren't exactly like, this is when this person signed up, because we have so many demo and test accounts and things like that.
Okay.
But one of the lower numbers.
One last question, Devendra. Let's say we wanted to hire somebody to completely overhaul our homepage to make it look like, super duper spectacular. How would that how would that work? Would they design it and then upload the HTML? Would it maintain that homepage functionality with the back end of of the membership management service?
So you guys are just using the AMO CMS, right?
Yeah.
So basically, there's a couple ways. You could do customized CSS. Honestly, you should just talk to us if you want to do something like that, because we have people that are on the Arcstone side of things that can help customize your AMO homepage. But if you wanted to do like a WordPress site or something really advanced, we have an AMO plugin that ties into a WordPress site. So it's kind of our upgrade path. If people don't want the AMO CMS, we basically offer an integration with WordPress.
Okay.
But if you wanted to like have someone redo your AMO like homepage or things like that, or your AMO CMS in general, that's something we could definitely get you a quote for.
Okay.
Yeah, if
So
you're interested.
should we go ahead and ask for the quote, or?
Yeah, I could have one of my sales guys put together a quote.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we'd be looking at, when you look at some of the really big sites now, as far as their homepage is concerned, like, let's see what some of our I mean, some of them are, look really, really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These are some of the other associations,
Yeah, these are probably like a fancier WordPress or like fancier platform than AMO CMS, but we could make it look pretty nice. There's a few examples we could show you.
So what does the WordPress allow you to do?
So WordPress is just like an open CMS, and it's just a better CMS in general. And then you can pull in stuff into AMO. I'd have to show you a lot more in depth.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, I know we're at the half-hour mark. I want to be sensitive to your time, but yeah, a quote would be fantastic. And thanks so much, Andrew.
Yeah, I definitely go in together. No
Okay.
problem at all. Yeah, you'll probably hear from Dan Olson.
Okay.
You'll probably hear from him.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Right. Cool. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Glad about that.